So, Tad, I was apologizing, or at least saying I hope you guys could bear with me, because once in a while I got to get this schlock sci-fi thing out of my system. And I just want to say, I'll let you guys have your say about both these pictures, but growing up, when people my age grew up, you didn't have a lot of sci-fi movies to choose from, and it was whatever you were at the mercy of the networks and the local affiliates.
Yep.
And whatever shit they
Channel
had.
24 wanted to show you, that's what you watched.
Yes. And so when you came across something, if it had a spaceship in it, it's like, sit down, watch, it is on.
Yep, I did the same thing. Was this feature features for you, or was this just on?
I can't remember. I did see it. I did see it as a kid, and I mean I saw both of them as a kid. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah,
and let you guys have your say.
I think we're started already.
I think we've definitely started.
Did you record? Are you recording, Scott?
Yeah, I record. Started.
Oh, yeah,
we're both recording.
Because I was afraid the power might go out here.
I think I put something in the chat about, this is a cheesy movie title, but the movie isn't as cheesy as the title would lead you to believe.
No, it's actually pretty respectable.
Except for the acting.
Yeah.
But that's I think that was just sort of like,
it's absolutely B movie acting.
Okay, well,
that guy.
What's the deal? You see it like what you call a B picture now, like an indie film, basically. You call them now, right? But it's kind of the same idea. It's the same idea as a B picture. It's not going to to set the world on fire. It's going to be out there. It's going to make some money, right?
I disagree with that. I would say,
hold on. That's just the premise. I'm getting to the point.
Okay.
Why is the acting so terrible in these movies? Because you watch a new indie film and the acting's really good.
I know, but I think
because these aren't indie films in that respect.
Okay, but why is it? Why people? Was it acting lessons expensive in the 50s? What's the deal with this thing?
the pool was very shallow for this kind of job, I think.
I guess, but it was like, it's scary how stiff these guys are. It's like really weird. I mean,
I think when you're on another level and you are talking indie, when you're talking about teenagers later, yes. This has got a bigger budget and they could afford better actors, although not necessarily good actors.
No, yeah, exactly.
Well, this guy was obviously cast because he's hot. Like that's
he's got the chiseled features.
Is that the guy that ended up writing Thomas Tryon? Didn't he write like The Other and a couple of other horror books?
He got disgusted with acting and went into writing horror and sci-fi novels.
Yeah. And they got a couple of them got turned into movies.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's
the other guy. This is the guy. I have to look him up, but I think this is what I think I mentioned this before when we were at one point we were talking about that movie Quatermass in the Pit, otherwise known as 5 Million Years to Earth, talking about when would a remake be okay? And I would say a remake would be okay when you had a good idea that was just undone by flawed execution. And I actually think in both of these instances, both of these movies, there are some interesting ideas here.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the cheesiness of they didn't aim high enough, or there maybe that wasn't realistic. But what I really
think they should have aimed a little bit lower. I kind of think one of the things with this movie is if they'd spend a little less money on the special effects, because they got the guy who did the fucking special effects from the 10 Commandments to do this, which is why the special effects are legitimately good.
They're actually pretty decent.
They don't look bad.
No,
they look kind of cool.
That smoke effect works really well.
Yeah, it's the same stuff that came into Egypt land and took out all the firstborn.
Right.
But what I was going to say is, like, what I liked most about this movie, and what I actually had to sort of think if I've seen this since in other movies, is that at a certain point, his wife becomes aware that I'm married to a space alien. And everybody's like totally above board with it at that point. The rest of the movie.
What way of putting it.
And I thought that was sort of fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I like that she's like, "Don't hurt me" or something like that. And he's like, "I'm not going to hurt you."
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. I don't
like
care.
The level of subterfuge, like they sort of drop it all. Like everybody knows these guys are fucking space aliens and they're trying to take over.
Well, that kind of happens in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Once they get to a certain number of people that they've taken over, then it's kind of like, we're running this town.
What year was that?
Or V.
What year was that?
Way.
Body Snatchers is before this.
Before this, I definitely seen Influence.
I think 51.
Absolutely, and Body Snatchers did basically the same story, much better. This thing is leaden. It is a good premise, but it has no idea how to wring any suspense.
No.
It's impressive to be leaden in a 78-minute movie, by the way.
True.
I just want to point out.
It's a real challenge to not be interesting when you're 78 minutes long.
Actually okay.
No shit. No, she's not bad.
That is the running theme of this week, by the way.
Which is
the lead actresses being considerably better than anyone else in the movie.
Yeah, no fooling.
No, she's actually. I thought she was pretty good. She was pretty good. She
actually was. She committed. She acted pretty well. She wasn't giving it well.
She did. Maybe she oscillated between terrified and like suspicious very well.
Yeah,
like she did that. She did like when the cop comes up to the window when she gets to the road closed sign.
Oh yeah,
and the cop comes up to the window and she's actually like arguing with him.
Yeah,
how could the road have washed out? Like it didn't.
It hasn't rained.
It has rained in weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and he's just like, the road's washed out. You're gonna have to take your trip another day. You know, and she eventually realizes like, I'm not getting out of this. I'm not talking my way out of this. I have to go. Like that's good. That's good acting. Actually, this guy is a pretty good actor too.
Oh, the sleaze bag?
I'm kind of disappointed he only had the two scenes. Like this is like the brother in the Stepfather, and he just runs in at the end, gets fucking stabbed to death, and that's it. I know. It's just like, what the fuck are you even in this movie, man? Like,
yeah, he wandered in from a gangster film. Then the next soundstage, I think. I'm not sure.
He's got a silenced revolver for some reason.
Like, I don't know. Those don't work very well.
There's also a great deal of cars and a great deal cars driving to fill time.
Oh, some classic cars, man.
Day for night, like not even trying.
No, that's the thing.
That's common to both these films.
That's the other.
They didn't even try with a day.
No.
They not even close.
Until somebody says in these movies it's night, you don't fucking know.
Until they get out to the forest. When they do get out to the forest, it is definitely nighttime.
Well, once they get to the forest, there's clearly a transition from where they're actually walking down an embankment and into the woods, and then they're on a set with a spaceship.
On a soundstage, yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of a great, little budgetary thing, is that they have it behind the trees. So really all it is a door.
Yeah.
You never see the spaceship.
It's a door that opens this way and a light and a fog machine.
Seriously. Cool.
By the way, this is the money shot. These guys hanging here, that is genuinely fucking creepy.
That is creepy.
And they knew it because they showed you about 4 different angles of it.
The monster, though, behind Chris is actually neat. He's asymmetrical.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can.
It's absolutely outer limits.
Yes. It's not. It's like you can see.
Or a rival.
Or John Carpenter looking and going, you know what? I got some ideas.
The 7-footed aliens from Arrival.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It's really cool.
The effects also reminded me of Outer Limits. They're definitely of a vintage, you know.
Extremely Outer Limits.
Yeah.
See, everything about this could have been a 42 minute.
You could cut this to a 60-minute Outer Limits episode easily for sure.
Like 42 minutes.
Went for an hour and a half.
20 minutes of commercials.
Exactly. But maybe the argument that I thought that the acting's wooden, maybe it was done on purpose that way, you think?
No, because other people who aren't aliens are also wooden.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
The only actor I recognize from this thing is Ken Lynch, who plays the doctor who kind of saves the day.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
he's
that's
the head of... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, he's the head of the miners. He's the foreman of the miners in Devil in the Dark, which is one of the best original Star Trek episodes.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah. He has got a gravelly voice and kind of a tough guy mug.
Mm-hmm.
So he played a lot of cops. I looked him up. He played a lot of cops.
I saw the face. I could not place it. And thank you for placing him, because I
thought it was.
I love that the doctor, like, she goes to the doctor and she's like, this is what's happening. And he's like, okay. And then the guy comes out and he's like, oh, cigars. And he puts it together. It's like, this is where I'm going to get people. And then he doesn't even tell her what the fuck he's doing. He's just like, bitch, get back home. The men have it now.
Yeah, you nailed that. That is absolutely true. And that is, I think, a real failing of this film. And just, it's a product of its time that she takes it up to that point, and then all of a sudden it's just like, round up the men. We're going to fix this.
And then the men don't even fix it. It's round up the men. Dogs.
It's the men and the German shepherds, or really the German shepherds, supported by the men.
Look how nice this looks. That's well. The thing is, this isn't like this isn't a Poverty Row project. This is a Paramount film.
I actually thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
a lot of the time it looked pretty good.
Better than it deserved, really.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Oh, boy. What is it with you and the dog?
Good boy. I'm a good doggy.
And oh, it's just a dog.
A lot of dogs die this week.
I just want to point out This is a photo of my friend's dog being 10% more aggressive than the dogs were being in this movie. Aliens.
What, do you think they put some Alpo inside that little hose that was coming off the alien's face?
They had to grab the dogs and pull them towards the cord because it took so long for the dogs to get comfortable being around the people in the fucking alien suits. That by the time they did, they were just doing this, going, like crawling across the ground and jumping up and saying hi and nuzzling your face, and then they cut in a dog's head coming in from the side and barking noises.
Yeah, I did dig the way the dogs came in like boot camp, you know.
Right.
That was kind of neat.
That was pretty cool. So apparently you did a little research, huh, Ted?
Do you think the shooting script had this title, or you think that this was a late ad by the marketing department?
Maybe.
I'll bet this had a more high-minded.
You can't see a producer yelling this title out and telling people to go, I married a monster from outer space. Get to work.
No,
Right.
I can see him yelling that out and then saying, "Go find a script that fits that."
Yeah,
Right. Or we have this monster costume. What should we do?
That Body Snatcher movie's pretty good. Make a version of that. No one's going
to. So getting back to the whole sort of being a product of its time thing, I did take a few notes down, and I said, with the exception of the doctor who saves the day, did you guys notice that every human male in this movie is gross? The humans.
Yeah.
They're drunks. Yeah. They hate their wives.
Yeah.
They sit in the bar and make ball and chain jokes.
Yeah. Do you think it's kind of a small town kind of thing? They're making, it's like they're kind of, because it's supposed to be a small town, right?
I almost see like maybe this movie's a metaphor for what happens to your husband after you marry him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, big time.
No, right?
And then
they turn into monsters.
Look how much nicer these guys get after the aliens take them over.
No shit.
Yeah.
Except for the main character who's a blank slate going into it. You don't know.
You know what? Like. And that's to me the biggest failing of the movie is that, again, it doesn't capitalize on its own premise. Not only can it not make any suspense out of it, it can't really get to the emotional core of this guy falling in love with the Earth woman. Mm-hmm. He says it, but then he's like, but I'm still going to go along with our plan to take over the Earth. And he just doesn't. He doesn't fucking do anything. Even at the end,
they're paying me a lot of money to do this, so I got.
Even at the end, when he knows he's about to die, in the final scene, he doesn't make the speech. He doesn't do any. He doesn't lift his finger to help.
There's no closure.
And then he turns into a spilled Slurpee.
Pretty much, it's terrible.
Yeah, no, which is pretty gross. All the guys melting away.
He doesn't close out his character.
What you also don't get is, because the movie's got to be short, is you don't get enough at the beginning so you understand why this woman wanted to marry him in the first place.
Right. Like I said, he's a blank slate.
Yeah.
If they spent about 2 minutes less on that one couple who was making out in the car, you could have had about 75% more characterization for him too.
Although you have to appreciate that later on in media res kind of feel to it. You're coming in the middle of the situation, the beginning of the film. It's like everything's kind of in process, which I appreciated. Because sometimes these films succumb to too much backstory, too much setup. And with 75 minutes or whatever long it was, there's no time for any of that.
Good point. But all the time spent watching cars drive around, could have been spent on that stuff.
Renting cars for movies costs money.
I want that money on the screen.
I mean, let's face it. This is a movie that could be remade scenario. You get some high-minded director that would turn this into like a 2.5 hour slog.
It shouldn't be any longer than this.
No, it doesn't really need to be any longer than this.
It can't be, really.
You know what I did like about it?
They would add a B plot. That's the first thing they would do. Because that's one thing about both of these movies is neither of them have B plots.
They're just full A plot.
All A plot.
Nope, you're right. And one thing I did like was the fact that the doctor figured out how he could round up people he could trust, which was, he's the guy passing out the cigars. So he runs right over to the maternity. It's printed on the door, maternity ward waiting room, and he grabs all the recent fathers to be, and those are the ones that go.
Congratulations, you can all fuck correctly. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you must be human because you can have human children.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of a good gimmick.
The female lead was
no,
great.
it is. That's why I brought it up earlier. It is a good idea. Yeah. It's the unfortunate part of just like go home and make dinner in the middle of it. Like,
I thought the female lead was really good. I said she acted well and she had a cute little bangs, the 50s, like Betty Page.
Right. There's a lot of bangs in these movies.
Yes, there are.
She can scream too. She can scream pretty well.
She can scream. That was probably a thing. Like ever since Fay Ray, right? Can you scream?
Yeah.
Another thing that this movie it's hard not to compare these movies because there's so much they have in common.
There's a lot of
but this monster from outer space, he kills a fucking dog at the beginning of the movie.
Yes, he does.
And so there's not much he can do after that that's going to win you over to his side.
Although,
not
like
that he tries.
Like I said, killing dogs back then.
Had my wife been
what it is
watching
now,
with me, she would have left the room at that moment and not come back.
Yeah.
What was that, Scott? You said killing dogs is
Killing
not.
dogs in the 50s was not it did not disqualify you from liking the character later on. It was just not. Again,
I mean, I laid out the whole
earlier.
The whole theory of it in the chat. Like the whole thing about this is that people didn't have dogs as pets at this point in time unless they were rich.
Right.
Rich people could afford to have another mouth to feed. Poor people could not. This is the beginning of the era in which people actually have pet dogs as like middle age or
before the concept of
middle class people.
Yeah, before the concept of animal.
She is very quick to agree with. Oh well, he doesn't like you. Let's put him in the basement.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Which is to our ears just like, oh fuck, that's horrible.
But to most people,
like, yeah, of course,
you put him in the fucking basement.
Yeah.
To most people in this day and age who would have grown up during the Depression, dogs were tools.
Yeah,
like you only had a dog if you needed it. If you had a junkyard you were protecting, if you had rodents out of your barn, that's why you had a dog.
Yeah.
Like, what are the dogs used for in this movie? They're used to attack. One of them gets killed. The guy doesn't even give a fuck that his dog gets killed. And then he goes and like rubs the other one and is like, well, my dog did his thing and walks away. Like, it's like, that's what they were. It was a living gun.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Right.
There were home alarm systems basically for a lot of people.
Well, mine is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
nobody sneaks up on us.
Yeah, like it or not, our dog goes off several times a day, false alarms.
Yeah, for sure. It's always the mailman.
Exactly.
Oh man, the dog that I just had up on screen here, somebody closes a car door and he's just
on it. Well, you want to wrap it up?
No, I don't. I mean, this is like it's a hard. You can't really.
How do you judge this?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little boring, but it's
a positive.
No, it's not bad.
I'm going thumbs down-ish because I thought the effects were pretty good, and I didn't go into this with a lot of expectations.
Zero.
Like it was still fucking boring.
Yeah.
So I gotta.
It's a pretty slow-moving.
No, full disclosure. First time I watched it, I fell asleep because it's just the black and white thing was working on me, and I had to go back and rewind it and watch it again to get caught up. So
I didn't fall asleep, but I did pause it a few times and go and do something else.
There is a great idea at the core, and I actually thought that there was a lot of great raw material here that it just got put in the exploitation.
They can't capitalize on their idea. It's boring. The guy doesn't commit either way. He's like, yeah, I kind of love you now.
Right.